Welcome to Welcome to Let's Get Into It. I am your host, Sherelle Higgins. Let's Get Into It is a safe space to have real conversations that are meant to uplift, encourage, and let you know you are not the only one dealing with life. Each episode of Let's Get Into It is designed to provide illuminating and thought-provoking information on a variety of topics. In fact, no topic is off limit. If you would like to see a topic discussed, please feel free to make a recommendation. My special guest and I will have a great time discussing topics that the mainstream media wouldn't dare discuss. We will bring these conversations to you with an open mind, respectfully, from different perspectives, and most importantly, with love. Thank you for joining me and my special guest. Now, let's get into it. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the next episode of Let's Get Into It. I am your host, Sherelle Higgins, and today is going to be a very interesting show. It is going to be a show on a topic that we just have to address head on. We're going to talk about managing our capacity. Now, while we are talking about this, it may sound like we're talking about a subject matter that's strictly for Black women, but let me tell you, not only is it not just for Black women, it's for all women, and it's also for the men who are in relationships with Black women or a woman, so that you know what is going on with your partner. May that be a spouse, a girlfriend, a fiance, whatever title you have given the woman in your life, this episode is for you too. And so I am going to have my guests. We're going to engage in a conversation around managing our capacity. And yes, we all need to do that. So without further ado, I will bring my guest, Nicole Roan, onto the camera. Hi, Nicole. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Yes, and I must say right out the gate that Nicole is from the city of Chicago. So you know we make us Chi-Town sisters automatically. And
Yes.
so Nicole, thank you for agreeing to come on here to talk about this very important topic. So we're gonna just jump right into it. Um, so Nicole, you help people create healthy habits, become healthier people, and also have healthy businesses by managing their capacity. So, can you talk to us about why it is important for people to create healthy habits, and why does it seem to be so hard to maintain those healthy habits?
Listen, good question. Healthy habits, in my mind, are the foundation of you being able to create success, whether that's personally or professionally. And so, when you have these habits and you have the routine of doing things that are fueling you, your mind, your body, your spirit, that is going to allow you to show up in the world in excellence boldly, right?
Right.
And I think that it's so hard for us to do that because can I be honest?
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes we don't want to do the work. We don't want to do the work, right? Or sometimes it's that maybe we don't know how. And so, whether it is you wanting to be healthier physically. So you know that you need to eat vegetables and, drink water and exercise. But the foundation of that is building your habits around it. And so, yeah, I think that it's a combination of those things.
So you mentioned, being healthier and eating your vegetables. And when people think about healthy habits, um, being physically fit, right?
Mhm.
People, those are typically the things that people automatically associate with healthy habits. I'd like to take it a step further when we start talking about healthy habits. One of the things that come to my mind is setting and sticking with your boundaries.
Ooh, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And And so talk to us about, why that's also important.
Oh, yes. Listen, I love talking about boundaries. And this one is so important because whether we know it or not, boundaries are for us, not necessarily for other people, right? And those boundaries protect your time, they protect your peace, they
Mm,
protect your energy, they protect your mental health. And so being able to establish and communicate those boundaries is also what's going to help you to manage your capacity. But it's hard sometimes because I know that I'm a recovering people pleaser, right? Like,
mhm.
you don't want to upset nobody, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And even in the corporate space, you don't want to look as if you can't do it, right? And so we struggle with putting these boundaries in place, or maybe we put them in place, but then we don't say anything. So we're the
Mm.
only person we communicated the boundary to.
And do you often find when you are engaging with people that when you set boundaries with people, that people tend to become angry with you, or start to feel like you're changing and being some kind of way all of a sudden, and it's you that's changing as opposed to people seeing that it's not only important but it's critical to have boundaries?
Yes and no. So I think there's, a couple of different ways that I've seen this present in my life. Um, I've seen where sometimes people get upset, but the reason they're upset is because they benefit from you not having the boundary in place.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so they'll tell you, oh, well, you used to, and you're changing, and you're so different. And I'm supposed to change. The seasons change. Why can't I? And I think when you realize, what you're giving your time and energy to, and you put those boundaries in place,
Mhm.
that's you practicing self-care. And I say very openly that anybody who is upset at your boundary don't belong in your space. They
Oh,
don't.
I agree with that, and I know that the word "no" is a complete sentence,
Yes.
and so, I think, particularly as women, we don't say it often enough, and
Mhm.
so we tend to shy away from it for a lot of different reasons, one of which, like you said, some people are people pleasers and don't wanna tell somebody no, but I learned a long time ago that it is just so important for me, to just say no, and then I don't really care how you feel about it, and
I
I'll
love
just I don't want to, right? Because when I was growing up, one of the things, we've all said as kids, "Oh, I can't wait till I get grown." Well, one of the reasons why I couldn't wait till I get grown is because I wanted to be able to do whatever I wanted to do.
it.
And
Mhm.
so now as an adult, I have to say no to people because the things that people are asking of me are not things that I want to do. And
Mhm.
so I feel very comfortable saying no to people. And so, I think that that is one of the healthy habits that we need to have and embrace.
Mhm.
And so, um, when you talk about health, having managing your capacity to be a healthy person, what does that look like?
Whew, that it looks like so many things. The first couple of things that come to mind for me are these pillars that I have, which are the foundation of capacity. Um, and so the first one is called heart flow. And so, as you're managing your capacity to be a healthy person, you got to be aware of what's going on inside of your heart, right? Meaning, what do you value in this season? How are your relationships? Are they healthy? Are they supporting you? And then that ties into how you're spending your time. So really getting in tune with what you're feeling, if your needs are being met or not met, and being able to address that elephant in the room. So that's one part of it as a healthy person. And then you have your workflow, which to me is all about, are you fulfilled in the work that you're doing? Do you like the job, or are you there just because you're collecting a paycheck? Do you have any sort of work-life balance, work-life harmony, or are you working 80 hours a week and you miserable, but you're staying there because the money's good, right? So really thinking about it from that perspective. And then you also have your health.
Hold on. Before you go to the other one, because I want to talk about each of them, because your heart flow is critical, right?
Mm,
And if your heart is not healthy, nothing else in your body works. Nothing else. Your brain, your legs, your limbs, nothing else works. Your muscles, your heart have to be healthy. And so I think that is a really good one. And that requires you to look internally,
mhm,
right? And not look externally and expect other people to make you happy.
mhm,
You don't want to give that assignment to somebody else. That's your own personal assignment. And nobody else knows you like you know you. And so you are the best person to um, know what you like, and how you
mhm,
feeling. And so when you don't have a healthy heart, then nothing else in your life is probably going well.
mhm.
So with the workflow, what's work? Haven't done that in a couple years. And I love every minute of it. And you talked about, are you miserable at your job, but you're still just going to this job because of the check and because the money is good. Um, I think that's the worst position somebody can put themselves in, because I know when I was working, I used to tell people all the time, this is not the only place that'll pay you.
Yes,
And if
ma'am.
you're not happy at this organization, there are thousands of other organizations you can go work for. And a lot of people are afraid of change, right? And so
Mm,
they rather deal with the evil that they know and the people who don't value them than to go see if it's somebody at another organization who might value you. And if
mm,
you what I would tell people is, if you get there and you find yourself in a similar situation, it's okay. Move on.
mhm,
So I worked for the federal government for 32 years, and I worked at 7 different federal agencies,
mm,
because I was like, I once I realized that the organization was benefiting from my talent more than I was benefiting from my talent. I knew it was time for me to go, and I
mhm,
and I didn't want to take on the fight of the system, right? Because you
mhm,
can't win against the system, and you can't change other people. And so I just never took that on, but I knew what I could do for me.
mhm,
That would be to just move on. I had a young lady that I met probably in like early 2011, and she had worked at this particular federal agency her entire career. And at that point, it was like 15 years. And she was afraid to move to another agency. And so when I got tired of working at that agency, I went to another agency and I called her. I was like, come on over here and work for me. She was like, him and
mhm,
hawing about it, him and hawing. And because, she was just afraid. And where she grew up, her dad, was the one who pushed her to go with me. But
mhm.
with the way she grew up was, you get a job and you stay there forever. And
Yep.
so thankfully her dad trusted me enough to, encourage her to follow me. And when I tell you, she followed me from one agency to the next after that.
Well, come on, trailblaze for her. That's so good.
Yes, because you got to bring people along, right? And so,
Mhm,
so having a workflow could mean so many different things. And having, you didn't say work life balance. You said work life, um,
work-life harmony, we
yes,
call it so
harmony.
many things.
I like that. I had not heard that terminology before, but I
Really?
like work life harmony. Yes, because so many of us don't do it. We give these jobs our all. And by the time we get home with our families, we're so exhausted that we can't really give them, the attention that they need and deserve. And then
Mhm,
we stretch ourselves beyond our capacity, trying to be everything for everybody.
mm,
And then we tend to lose ourselves, and then we get depleted, right? Because
mhm.
we have exceeded our capacity for the day. And then we, get depleted, and then we don't then we looking around like, who's going to fill us up?
Yep. Yep. You know I'm nodding in agreement. I love it. Thank you for pausing me because I get so excited talking about this. Um, in our workflow as well, it's not just if you're at work. It's for us as entrepreneurs and business owners as well, because sometimes you can be so busy, chasing the money or, chasing and figuring out what is my next best step that maxes out your capacity. And so a lot of times it's tuning into your why, right? And coming from the HR space, I would have these honest conversations, even with people that would come into my office and say, I don't think that this is a good fit for me anymore. Okay. And that's all right. So let's talk about what is a good fit for you, because the truth is, and people don't want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you let your job stress you out to the point where you're having a stroke or you have a heart attack, your job description will be posted before your obituary is created. It's the truth, because they have to keep business going as usual. And that's why this work is so important for us to really tune in and say, you know what? This is taking my peace. It's making my hair fall out. Again, even from an entrepreneurship standpoint, it's being aware and having that honest conversation with yourself.
Yes, check in with yourself. Always check in with yourself. And I hear this, I see this a lot on social media where people say it's okay not to be okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so is it really like when you're not okay, is that really okay with people? You know, and I find oftentimes that it's not. People, and as Black women, we have been taught, and society has taught us that we have to be strong, right? And so we as a society tend not to check on the strong, right? Because we have this shield over our eyes, and we think that the strong is perfect and everything is going well in their lives, and so we don't check on the strong, and we don't know that the strong is not okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important to have people in your circle who recognize the signs of you not being okay, and they then check in on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that, to me, that's just so critical. And if you are the strong one and nobody's checking in on you when you're not okay, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. I agree, because, and I was just talking about this last night, literally, when you are the strong one, the go to in your friends and family circle, sometimes, a lot of times, people just assume that you got it under control and you don't need no help because you are always helping everybody else. And like you said, it's very important for you to keep people around you in your circle that know you, that are like, girl, you off, what's going on, right? But even more importantly than that, I believe that if you are not okay, you need to raise your hand and say something too. You can't be ashamed or, be embarrassed that stuff isn't going as planned, or that you are stressed to the max beyond your capacity because the kids getting on your nerves, the husband getting on your nerves, the job is demanding. You just want to be able to go work out, eat your salad, go to sleep, come home, maybe watch some Wheel of Fortune. But when you have so much that's going on, you know, it's important for us to speak up. And I think that we have to unlearn the strong Black woman syndrome and say, I think that's where the it's okay to not be okay comes in. We
Mhm.
have to be okay saying, hey, I'm not okay right now.
And it's important to recognize when you're not okay, and it's also important to have um, time to process that, right? And so for me, I process it by just kind of chilling out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like taking a breather, bringing it down. And I will tell you, usually, like, I'm not going to be answering no phone calls, no text messages, no emails. I'm not going to be on social media. I'm just going to be chilling. And so, the people that I talk to, pretty much every day, and when I don't answer that one day, they recognize, because we probably had a conversation leading up to that day, and
Mhm.
they give me that space that day, but the next day, oh, they on the phone, they calling, and like, I dare you not to answer, 'cause I will show up.
I'm the
And
friend that'll show up like, excuse me.
and they will show up. Oh, absolutely, they'll show up. So,
Good.
we have to know, when we're not okay. How do we process that? And not continuing to push yourself and expanding your capacity. Before we move on to the next one, let's see. Jennifer said, I always say that the encourager needs to be encouraged. But as the pillar in the family or in your circle, you have to know when to tap out. Yes, Jennifer, let's tap all the way out. And
Mhm.
Doc Johnson said, sometimes the strong one doesn't know how to recognize help when and if it comes. Oh, that's so true. That's good,
Mhm.
Dr. Paulette. That's good. They don't
Mhm.
they don't know when or if it comes, how to recognize it,
Mhm.
right? Yes. Jennifer said tap, tap, tap.
Tap on out, yes.
Yes,
Can
you
I
got
talk about that recognizing piece for a
yes.
second?
Hmm.
I think that in that instance, when you're the strong one, right? Because you're so used to doing and giving and being, um, needing that help can feel unfamiliar.
Hmm.
And part of it is, the recognition part is when you know you're not being yourself. A good example of that is, I'm a happy go lucky person. I am smiling, ball of sunshine, all of that. But when I noticed that I was irritated all the time, like I can literally remember coming in from work one day after a long day at work, I seen two dishes in the sink, two, lost my whole mind. Lost my whole mind. My husband, my daughter, and even the dog was looking at me like, what is wrong with you? And then, but that wasn't it. I continued to feel that way over an extended period of time. And I was
Hmm.
like, ooh, I need some help. But then even accepting the help, because at that point I probably scared everybody around me because they like something wrong with her, right?
Right.
My husband was trying to help and I was pushing it away. Hey, what do you need me to do? You getting on my nerves. No, I don't need you to do anything, right? And so
Hmm.
being able to step back when people love you and care about you, like you said, I'm gonna tap out for a day, but if I'm off the grid for more than 24 hours, that's where the help comes in. So use that as a sign, like, hey, somebody sees that something's not off. Let me be vulnerable enough and take off my cape and say, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm on the struggle bus, sis.
Yeah, absolutely. It is just really, really important. Okay, so you said you had 5 pillars.
Yes.
So the first one was heart flow. The second
Hmm.
one was workflow. So what's the
Hmm.
third one?
The third one is health flow. And this one is, all of them are really important, but this one really focuses on how our physical, our mental, and our emotional health are all intertwined, right? Similar to if just one of these pillars is off, everything is going to be off. But that's especially true in our health flow, because I can recall a time when, I was really, really struggling mentally. And that was impacting how I felt physically, from,
Mm,
body pains to being super, super tired, but then even emotionally, right? When you have this body pain and you are dismissing it and you're struggling mentally, whether, one of the big things, even over the last couple of years, has been grief. I lost my dad almost 3 years ago. And it, grief hits in waves. But
hmm.
even from that, you start to feel bad that you're not as productive as you used to be. So then your emotional health is taxed, and then that can lead to you really retreating and not wanting to be social. And so health flow is really about understanding how our physical, mental, and emotional health impact us across the board.
Yes, and the emotional stuff, right? Is something we just don't talk about enough, right? People are I think by nature, emotionally disturbed.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if you find yourself, your emotions have taken over, you got to stop and do a self check in, right? And like, I mean, it just shows up in so many ways. Some people stay in the bed all day. Some people just, cry at the drop of a hat. Some people lash out at others around them. It just shows up in so many different ways because as women, we are emotional beings,
Mhm.
right? And so when you find yourself that your emotions are not aligned with what your emotions are typically, then that's when you got to tap out.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and the physical part of it, I think women go to the doctor way more than men do, right? And
Mhm.
so, but do we go to the doctor enough, right? Are we getting those annual physicals? Are we getting that blood work every year so that if your numbers are off, you can, immediately get that taken care of?
Mhm.
Are we getting our mammograms, every year like we're supposed to? I will tell you, I had one of my girlfriends laughing, I think it was last week, because I get my blood work done like once every 6 months, and because I'm a type 2 diabetic, and
Mhm.
so they check my numbers regularly. And I told her, I said, well, I have a whole spreadsheet. Every time I go to the doctor, I got a
Yep.
spreadsheet. When them numbers come out, I update the spreadsheet to see like what was it last time, what was it the time before, and if it's a tenth of a point difference, I'm writing down my questions. So when I go to the doctor, I can ask like, what do you think that is? And they like, girl,
Mhm.
like a tenth of a point. If you don't go see,
Calm down. No, but
and
it's important. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
and because for African Americans, the top three things we gonna have: high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes. We gonna have those, right? And so if you have those, it's important to stay on top of it. Take the medicine, right? If you are not disciplined enough to be able to do it naturally and bring it down, take the medicine, right?
Mhm.
I hear, I don't like taking medicine. I know I'm one of those people, but I bet you I take my medicine every day
Mhm.
because I want to live a long, healthy life, and I want my numbers to be, in range. I don't want to one day just have a stroke because my blood pressure is so high or my
Mhm.
cholesterol is so high. And so, taking care of your physical health is important. If For me, if my hip hurt, I'm going to the doctor to see what's up.
As
I
you
need to,
should.
right? I was in physical therapy for my hips, and guess what? They stretched me out, and I ain't had no problem since then.
it's
You got
it's
to
the
do it.
getting there. It's the getting there. And I love that you say that because really, and we were talking a little bit about this offline. Me even getting into this space, first of all, I realized that before I had my come to Jesus moment, I was too busy to go to my health appointments, right? I would go
Mm,
to the dentist, right? I go get my hair done. I, would go get my nails done, but I wasn't going to my annual doctor's appointments.
mm,
Um, and around the time that I got sick, I was like, and part of it is because culturally we think the doctor ain't really gonna help us anyway, right? Or
mhm,
we're afraid to find out. So long story short, as I'm going through this bout of me being in pain and not knowing what was going on, I refused to go to the doctor. I did everything but that. I went and got a massage. I was drinking green smoothies. I was sleeping, all of that. But it got so bad that I couldn't even get up off the couch. My daughter was 14 or 15 at the time, had to literally drive me to the emergency room. And she
mm.
saved my life. She saved my life because those numbers that you talk about, oh, Miss Ma'am checks her numbers and has that same spreadsheet, right? My CPK level, which is something that measures the amount of protein that's in your blood, the normal levels are 200, give or take a few. Mine were at over 200,000.
Mm.
200,000.
Oh, wow.
And so because of that, You know, that's what had me in ICU. My organs was shutting down, all of that stuff. But now, I'm there every 6 months as well. I found out I was anemic, so I'm taking my iron every day. I'm taking my vitamin D. You know, I'm making sure that I'm fulfilling myself with what I need. But we got to be able to, you know, take care of ourselves and go to the doctor to get those checkups, because it's preventative, especially with some of the stuff that's handed down, right?
Right. And we have to position ourselves where we can find the medical professionals that we feel comfortable with. Because just going to the doctor, and this doctor don't have no time for you. This doctor ain't thinking about you. You just another patient. They don't even know your name. You've been going there for 10 years. They don't even recognize you. Like that kind of stuff is crazy to me. And so my doctor retired. And so I had to find another doctor. And so I started going to this Black female doctor. And the first time I went to her, she came in the room. She didn't even introduce herself. So I took note. I said, okay. And right. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna give her another chance, right? So the second time she said like maybe good morning or whatever, and she was getting ready to jump into something. I said, wait a minute, hold on, back up before we get into all of that. Let's talk about this. I said, because the first time I came in here, you didn't even introduce yourself. I didn't know who you were, right? I said, and I only came here because you were recommended. And so I didn't know who you were. I didn't know what you looked like. I didn't know who you were. You never even introduced yourself. I said, so if we're going to establish a doctor-patient relationship, I need to get to know you, and I need you to get to know me. And so that was the second time. And then she was like, oh, I don't remember that. I remember you because you had on them sunglasses. Like, okay, fair enough, whatever. The third time I went, so 3 strikes you out. The third time I went, I walked into the office and they took me back to the one of the rooms, and she was sitting at the desk on the computer, and her assistant was sitting in the only chair that was left in the room. And so I stood next to the bed, and I was thinking to myself, I'm not coming back here no more. And then I think it had to be all over my face, because the assistant was like, oh, you want to sit down? You think? Do you think I want to sit?
Listen.
After that, I was like, I ain't coming back here no more. So now I have a doctor that I absolutely love. She's very patient. She, answers all my questions, very personable. We click, and I love it. And there's no waiting in no waiting room, no 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes. And when whatever time your appointment, seeing you, 5 minutes, give or take, I can deal with that. She's very patient with me with my questions. And on my spreadsheet, I even have a column that tells me what all of those acronyms are in your blood work, right? So, because I need to know what this stuff is. I don't just, what's an MPV? I don't know. And so I took the time to look them all up and jot it down in my spreadsheet so I can know what I'm talking about. So it's just so important to establish a good, healthy relationship with your medical providers. Okay. So that's 3. What's the 4th one?
So the 4th one is our cash flow. Ooh, this is about our money. This one is really about your mindset and how you manage your money and the ability to leave a legacy, right? AKA, so we don't have to do GoFundMes, or your kids don't have to do that. But also understanding how this pillar is connected to the other ones. Because before I left my cushy HR job, right, I was spending my 6 figures as fast as I could get it, because I was not fulfilled, not necessarily with the work that I was doing, but because I was stressed out. So retail therapy was my coping mechanism, right? or I was, trying to give my kids stuff that I felt like I didn't have. So I value the lavishness of stuff. And so when you are not managing your money the right way, because of one of those other pillars, then that's also going to impact how you feel about yourself, your self-confidence. I can be honest, I can remember spending so much that I couldn't pay my bills. And I was like, girl, what are you doing? Now I'm stressed out. And you got to be mindful of that. So paying attention to, not only how you manage it, but what you think about it. What did you learn growing up? I know that, in my household, we didn't really talk about money a whole lot. And so I've had to learn through trial and error. And now I get to teach that to any and everybody that'll listen, especially within my house. But yeah, that's what our cash flow is about.
Yeah, money is a topic for me that all my friends know. Don't get me started on, because one of the things I know for sure, people think because you they perceived that you have managed your money, that somehow that translate into, can you loan me some of that money that you have managed well?
You got it.
And my position on that is, if you were irresponsible with your money, why would I give you mine? Not gonna happen.
Say it again, because somebody else needs to hear that.
Just because you irresponsible with your money, why would I give you mine? It doesn't make sense. And so at some point in life, you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. And, everybody has a vice, right? When it comes to money, everybody has something that they, just like do. Some people like shopping. That ain't my thing. Some people, like cars. That's not necessarily my thing, even though, it's my husband's thing. And so I have a nice car, but, that's just not my thing. And my husband calls me frugal, and I'm cool with that, because I'm just like, why would I give Louis Vuitton, who I don't even know, wouldn't know Louis Vuitton if he walked in the door, why would I give him $3,000 for a purse? It just doesn't make sense. And then now, because I didn't gave Louis Vuitton $3,000, I got to work an extra 3 years
to make it up. What's the cost really? Yeah.
And Louis Vuitton paid $57, had his bag made.
Stop it. The math don't math.
And so I don't need designer clothes. I like to dress, but I don't have to go out and buy designer clothes. And, I'm just going to buy stuff that I look good in. And if I can get it for $20, count me in.
Nothing
right.
Wrong with
And so, cash flow, money is a thing that stresses a lot of people out, right? Because, like you said, we haven't been taught about money. And in our community, we don't talk about money. And so it's like, I got mine, good luck with you getting yours. And I don't like that. I don't like that approach. And so one of the things I've been doing for a long time is talking to people about managing their money, what to do with their money. I heard a statistic just yesterday that said 50% of the country has money in the stock market. That means 50% don't.
Mm-hmm.
And they are wondering why they are struggling, right? Because nobody has taught them about the stock market. Nobody has taught them that you don't need a whole lot of money to invest in stocks, right? Because nobody's told them, and they haven't asked the question.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just sitting back, looking at you, wondering how you able to do what you're doing, instead of, just asking the question. And so cash flow is just so important. And, the whole GoFundMe, don't get me started on that when it comes to funerals, because a life insurance policy can be so cheap that if you can go out and give Louis Vuitton $3,000,
took the words out of my mouth.
you can get a $50 policy. Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, get a $10,000 policy. And tell your family, all I got is $10,000 to bury me. Don't spend no more than $10,000. And that's it. right? So the whole GoFundMe for the funerals, I can't get on board,
Mhm.
because, and I had somebody on the show last month, or it might have been earlier this. No, it had to be last month. Talking about life insurance, right?
Mhm.
And talking about people who, at this point in life, we're getting older. We're starting to have medical issues and challenges because they killing us with the food and the water. And so you may not be able to get a life insurance policy, but what she was talking about was she helped those clients do something different that equates to a life insurance policy, right?
Mm.
Like, okay, so let's say your life insurance policy was going to be $50 if you could get it. Since you can't get it, let's take that same $50 and invest it every month. Let's take that $50 and invest it. And over time, it's going to accumulate.
Mhm.
And so
Compound interest.
right, that was a great strategy. And so we have to do better when it comes to the cash flow and
Mm.
understand that having thousands and thousands of dollars, which most people don't have, sitting in your bank account ain't doing you no good.
No,
It
not
ain't
at
doing
all.
you favors.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I love it. Let me add one quick thing to that. So this is I got my HR hat on now. So, most of the time when you're a new hire at work, you can enroll in those health insurance or into the life insurance policies that they have there. So if you have, you know, some ailments and some things going on, most of the times you can get a guaranteed policy. And then you also can get things like Aflac that supplement that. So there are so many different ways for you to get coverage. And most people think that you can't necessarily take that coverage with you if you were to leave the employer, but you can. It's called portability. So
Yeah.
there are ways for you to be able to get life insurance in addition to what you mentioned, but we need it. We need it.
Oh,
I've seen and been around too many people that are struggling to, say goodbye to loved ones. That's the last thing that you want to have to worry about when you're trying to grieve.
oh, absolutely. And this last one is the best one. The last flow. What's the last flow?
This one is your faith flow.
Yes.
And this one's last on purpose because this is the foundation of everything. So it's about, when everything hits the fan, how are you dealing? How are you refilling your spirit? How are you, operating in purpose in your life? How are you navigating, this world? Because life is gonna life. But our faith flow is about making sure that you stay connected to the source to refill you so that you can go out here and do the things that God has called you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Your faith is everything. Yeah, and
Mhm,
it needs to be connected to something higher than yourself, right?
mhm.
Um, it your faith is just it's just if you don't have faith, I don't know how you're making it.
I have
Um,
no idea.
and it's not something you can see, not something you can touch. Faith comes from within, and you got to be connected to it, and you got to let it lead you, and
Mhm.
know that when those doors close, that wasn't the door for you,
That
but the
part.
door for you will reveal itself when you're ready,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so that's in all things, right? Life is about evolution. And so as we evolve, we have to make sure that we are connected to a higher being, and so that we can prepare ourselves for the greatness that the higher being is going to lay at our feet. And then we'll be prepared. Preparation is everything. And
Mhm.
so while those doors are closing, that's not an opportunity for you to stop. I had somebody, the last guest I had on my show, he said he was knocked down, but never knocked out.
Ooh.
I love that. And so, without your faith, you're going to be knocked out.
Mhm.
So, you with your faith, you may be knocked down, but you won't be knocked out. And so,
Mhm.
faith is definitely going to be, um, it should be a priority.
Mhm.
It
It
should be
has
your
to
number
be.
one priority.
And that's one of the ways that you create capacity, right? Because I know we've all heard God don't give you more than you can handle. You don't want to hear that when you feel like the weight of the world is crushing you. But and it's the truth. But you have to use your experiences of when you've had the faith of a mustard seed and you've seen things work out beyond your wildest belief. You got to be able to draw upon that in hard times. And so, like you said, if you don't have faith, for those who don't, and this isn't about a religion to me. This is about connecting to, a higher source, a power that is greater than you, and being able to say, look, I can't do no more. I'm gonna need to tap in because I'm finna tap out. Right. And
yes.
So, yeah.
And so with those 5 pillars, and we've talked about, the healthy habits and being a healthy person. What would you say to our partners in our lives, how they can support us when we have maxed out our capacity for that day, for that subject matter, for, whatever is going on?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, we were laughing before we started. I told you my husband is now running around talking about the way my capacity is set up. And I love it. But to our significant others and our partners, not only listening, but paying attention and calling us out and holding us accountable. Because one of the things is, I said already, I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I've learned how to, and I'm still learning how to not overpromise and underdeliver. And so when I get into this phase of, oh, I can do it, he'd be like, hey, capacity coach, do you have the capacity for that? I'm like, look here, sir. But it's the honest to God truth, or, if I am struggling and I need help and I say, hey, I'm tired, be willing to help as a partner. I'm blessed and appreciative that my husband is a chef, so I don't have to cook, right? But there are still a multitude of other things that need to get done because the kids go past him to come to me. The dog even go past him to come to me, right? Mm-hmm. And so being able to say, hey, let me take that off your plate for you. That is so key in us being able to create capacity so that we have these healthy habits. And it's part of us being able to communicate that as well, because they're not mind readers as much as we think that they are. They're not. We got to communicate too.
Yeah, and our communication styles are so different between, men and women. And so, just finding that balance in it and making sure that we know when, like for me, I take a step back. I try to process, and then I'll be ready to talk about it. But I'm like, don't try to force it on me, and don't discount how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of that, times that happens. People discount how you're feeling. And
it's not that bad, right?
Or let me think, what's a good one? I've heard people say about that is that's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, mm-hmm. Or you shouldn't feel like that. Mm-hmm. Or okay, you already said that. Why you keep saying that? Yes, Jen, you're overreacting. Oof. All of those kinds of things are not helpful. And when you're trying to manage your capacity for that day and for that subject matter, those things are just not helpful, right? That doesn't give you any room to take things off your plate. It actually puts more on your plate because in a lot of instances, then you find yourself trying to figure out how to manage your own, what you're going through, and then still show up for everybody else.
Yep.
And so you're not really managing your capacity, and neither is your spouse or significant other, partner, whatever words we use these days, that's politically correct. It's just not, it's not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And so as women, we have to know how to we have to do the work to manage our capacity.
Yeah.
And we have to know that when we are maxed out, that that's the time to tap out.
Mm-hmm.
The people typically is the people we live with, they will be all right until you tap back in. But we as women, especially us strong women, we think other people can't do something unless we're involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they somehow want they gonna starve to death if you don't cook for them today.
If I
That's
don't
not
do it, it won't get done. All out.
exactly right. Exactly. And so, like you, my husband ain't no chef, but he do all the cooking, and I eat it. I do all the eating it. And so I'm just like, I don't care what it is, I'm gonna eat whatever you make, because I know I'm not going in there to cook. So
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't have any issues with that. Um, the way we describe our relationship is he's logistics and I'm the administrator.
I
So
like that.
we have our roles, right? And so I don't step into his roles and he don't step into mine. And so, we that's how we manage our relationship. Everybody got their role and you just do your part. That's because all of it needs to be done. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to do it all. I don't have to
Divide
be
and
a
conquer. Yep.
logistics. I don't really have nothing to wear to be logistics. Tony has
You sure don't. You too fly for that. No, ma'am.
okay, so let me ask you um this. Tell us about your capacity conference.
Oh, listen. Oh, this is a labor of love, and I am so excited for all my Chicago people listening. We're going to be right outside the city on August 1st and 2nd. I am bringing together most of these pillars that I just talked about. So we're really going to be focusing on your heart flow, your health flow, your work flow, and your cash flow. And by nature, faith is already included in there. But we're getting together for 2 days to really push pause on the everyday demands, because as I mentioned at one point, I was too busy to go to the doctor. I was too busy to work out. And so we've created this safe space for us to get in the room and do the work, to talk about and set boundaries, to map out our money plans, to create our capacity plans. We have about 8 speakers, 2 different panel discussions. This is going to be, the event that you need to be at, especially in Chicago, because as we are, getting to August, before we know it, it's going to be snow on the ground and you're going to be saying, I wish I had, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. We're getting in the room together and building that community that you started talking about, right? There's nothing like being in the same space and place with other women who get it, who've been in your shoes, and who want to pour into you so you ain't got to Google and YouTube everything. So
Look, don't say nothing about YouTube. That's my
I'm still a Google YouTube queen. Please believe. But sometimes you want to get there sooner, quicker, faster. And this is the opportunity to come together with myself and all these amazing resources so that we can help you to help us to help the world.
And I love the title of it, managing what is it? Capacity conference.
Mm-hmm.
I love that title because it just covers so many. It covers everything about us as individuals and everything about us as people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so we can all relate to overextending ourselves and not managing our capacity. And then, like I said earlier, depleting ourselves because we're so busy managing while the people that we doing all these things for, their capacity good.
They feel good because we're doing it for them. They're like, I'll be back. What?
Yeah. And one of the things my girlfriends joke me about is all of my life I was an overachiever, right? And so that became a burden for me
Mm.
because there was nothing you could put in front of me that I couldn't master. Now, since I've retired, that's one of the things I've just been working on, right? I'm like, nope, I don't have to do it today. It's all right. Somebody send me some, ask me to do something, I'm on it right away, particularly if it's something for me, right? Or
Mhm.
my family. No, I mean, like let's say for example, you make a doctor's appointment and they want you to fill out that questionnaire online, right? As soon as I get it, I fill it out right away. Now I'm like, they'd be all right if I do it in 2 days.
Mhm.
Just and so
Mhm.
I had to really pull back on some things. And I'm like, it's okay if I don't call that company today. I'll call them tomorrow. It's gonna be all right.
Mhm.
And so I'm really Jennifer said it's okay. We love you anyway. you know, for me, that was it became a heavy burden.
Mhm.
Just trying to um, accomplish everything in
Mhm.
short. And so I'm like, okay, I don't have to do that no more. That's over. I'm
Mhm.
gonna do it when I do it. And so and I'm finding comfort in that space.
Mhm.
Um, so when we are talking about capacity, my capacity was huge when I worked, but now my capacity ain't. I don't have a lot of capacity. I'm like I
Mhm.
can do one thing a day.
And that's okay. And that's about, I seen in the comments, somebody was saying, giving yourself grace. And that's what this sounds like to me. And that's what it is, right? Saying, you know what? I'm going to give myself permission to not be at the brink and over my capacity.
Mhm.
And stepping back enough to say, oh, I used to be able to handle 85 things a day, but not today. And loving and being comfortable and sitting in that space, because then everything else around you, kind of molds to that. So I love it. And you're looking at a fellow overachiever here as well. So I get it. I'm a recovering overachiever.
That makes two of us. And with that being said, Nicole, tell people how they can look up your conference if they are located in the city and want to check it out.
Absolutely. You can go to thecapacityconference.com. I am on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm all out here in these internet streets, and we would love, love, love to get you in the room at the Capacity Conference.
Okay, well, thank you, Nicole. Time goes by so quickly. I appreciate this conversation. I think it was uh, well worth the time. And these are things that we need to talk about and really put the shine a light on it, as that song say, shine a light on it,
Mhm.
and give people start thinking about the things that we talked about, how it's manifesting in everybody's lives. So thank you for that. I am going to take you off camera. I'm going to do my what the hell segment, and then we're gonna wrap up this episode of Let's Get Into It.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about what the hell. I have heard so many people trying to criticize LeBron James because he used his power to get his son in the NBA. Now, people are saying all sorts of crazy things and talking about what he did in college. He only played for 1 year, he only had 4 points, all of this stuff. I don't care. What difference does that make? As a parent, if you have the opportunity to help your child get a job, I'm sure you would. So, what the hell are you talking about? Why is it wrong for LeBron James to do it for his son, but you could do it for yours? We have all types of actors and actresses and rappers and celebrities and people who bringing their kids into the industry. So why is it wrong for LeBron James to do it? Like, what the hell is the problem? It is all right with me. I don't care if Bronny sat on the bench and didn't score no points. If his daddy could get him in the NBA, kudos to him and his daddy. I'm proud of him. Do your thing, LeBron. Don't worry about these people because they tripping. Because they know goodness well that if they were in the NBA and they could get their child in the NBA, they would do the same thing. So to sit back and be these little internet trolls talking about he only in there because of his daddy. Okay, so what? And then you mad about the money that the Lakers gonna pay Bronny? What does that have to do with you? Nothing. So stop it. Ask yourself, what the hell am I typing on this computer that makes me think it is okay to criticize a father? Let me say that again. A father who is looking out for their son. So what the hell? Go sit down somewhere. And one last thing. What the hell are y'all criticizing Angel Reese about? This young girl is out here balling. She got 14 double-doubles in a row, and y'all talking about she can't play no ball? I bet you can't get 14 double-doubles in the WNBA. What the hell are you talking about? Stop criticizing people who are doing great things. Just because you're not doing it doesn't mean that you get to sit back and criticize what they're doing. Angel Reese, kudos to you. Keep balling, young girl. I watch every clip of you. I watch your games. I'm here for it. Keep doing you, Angel Reese. And don't worry about these internet trolls who sitting at home ain't doing nothing. And they haven't even managed their own cash flow, but they worried about yours. So with that being said, I want to say thank you all for joining us for this lovely discussion today on Let's Get Into It. I am going to be on vacation for the next scheduled Let's Get Into It. So I will not be doing that from Barbados. So I will see you all in about a month. Let's get into it. Thank you for joining and participating in Let's Get Into It. I want to thank my special guest for being brave enough to get into it. Without you, these conversations cannot happen. Remember, different viewpoints, respect, and love are the foundations of Let's Get Into It. If there's a topic you think I should discuss, drop me a recommendation. If you're interested in being my special guest, let me know because we can and will get into it. Have a great day on purpose, and I look forward to your continued engagement and support as we get into it.